Okay, guys, this is the moment we've been waiting for. We're going to talk about Alibaba Cloud and the best choice for cloud services in China. So who here has operations in China or Asia Pacific? Raise your hand. Okay. So for anybody that does any business that target consumers, China is now your biggest market, probably for the next 5 to 15 years. Today it has 300 million people that are considered middle class, and that number is expected to rise to 700 million by 2025. So that's for B2C business. For manufacturing, a lot of you have manufacturing plants in the China and Asia Pacific region. And a lot of manufacturers and a lot of retailers run SAP, which is why we're here today. So I'm here to talk about how Alibaba Cloud can offer a unique global infrastructure that allow you to have your SAP running in China, in Asia Pacific, in North America, or in Europe, and have everything work harmoniously together. So our unique selling points: number one, we have the broadest coverage in China and Asia Pacific compared to other cloud providers. We have 7 regions in China. We have 7 regions outside of China in Asia Pacific. We have 18 regions total, 44 availability zones globally. But really, when you talk about China and Asia Pacific, we are going to be the cloud service provider that has the broadest coverage. For retailers, having your consumer have very quick access to your e-commerce infrastructure is very important. And in China, we also have the widest content delivery network coverage that power the largest e-commerce platform in the world, which is our own. So you are also able to leverage the infrastructure to get to your end users with a very, very good experience. China is a very different market. People in China live on their mobile phone, and mobile phones have very low tolerance for latency. So the user experience is extremely important, which is why having us as your partner in China is really going to help you increase your business. Second, one account to rule them all. Today, with some of the leading cloud providers, they have a different business entity in China. And if you have an account in, say, North America or Europe, and you want to set up an account in China, typically you have to come up with a second login. The management is different, the billing is different, the experience is different, the product portfolio is different, the performance is different. With Alibaba Cloud, you're going to enjoy a very seamless experience, whether you're operating from China, from Singapore, from Hong Kong, from Frankfurt, from London, from New York, from San Francisco. It's a very seamless experience. The performance, it's very consistent. The latency is very low. You receive one bill. So on that front, it's certainly a unique advantage. Number 3, best-in-class connectivity in China. So I talked earlier a little bit about how we offer the best-in-class connectivity inside China. Not only do we have the broadest coverage with our different regions in China, we also have over 1,200 point of presence on our CDN network. What that means to you is, doesn't matter where you are, doesn't matter where your end users are, you're going to experience a consistent, low latency experience with your services and your platform. Now, a lot of people don't know about this. We also have a very unique cross-border connectivity solution. that allows you to enjoy also very low latency, very consistent, and close to zero packet loss when you talk about sending data in and out of the border of China. So what does that mean to you? Typically, when you are a multinational corporation, historically, your data center is probably outside of China. Singapore, Hong Kong, Japan, here are some of the places that you probably thought about setting up shop. With our connectivity solution and our capabilities inside China and our global presence, we've been able to help corporations, multinational corporations, eliminate entire data centers because now they're able to connect directly from our cloud in China to wherever you are in the world, whether it's North America, whether it's Northern Europe, whether it's Southeast Asia, directly from our cloud in China to where you're headquartered. So this is really a unique differentiator. You know, as a global infrastructure person, as somebody who has responsibility for global infrastructure, this significantly reduces your complexity in your architecture. Number 4, we're the #1 public cloud vendor for multi-cloud. So what does that mean? Typically, people like to be cloud agnostic nowadays because they like to take advantage of multi-cloud. They don't want vendor lock-in. They want to have more redundancy options. We are an excellent candidate for multi-cloud. Why is that? Number 1, we happen to have a very similar portfolio to the largest cloud provider globally. So it is when you are a customer of that cloud provider, it's very easy to also leverage our cloud platform in a multi-cloud strategy. Number 2, when you deploy a multi-cloud strategy, you also want to see how that second cloud vendor can provide additional value. And we are very complementary to all the leading cloud providers in terms of geographic presence. So not only are you leveraging us for redundancy purposes, you're also providing a coverage in where there's a gap today. Number 3, we also happen to be a little bit more flexible in pricing. So a lot of as the cloud adoption increases today, for most of the big enterprises, pricing has become an issue. And we are able to help you just save a buck here or there. You know, a lot of people, when I go to their global cloud procurement person and say, hey, what does it mean to save you 15%? That answer usually is millions. So having a price advantage, or should I say, being a little bit more flexible on price, also puts us in a very good spot for multi-cloud. Number 4. By the way, I think I'm skipping all the slides later. I think I'm just covering all the points right here. But number 4, one-stop shop for Go China compliance. I think this is one of the most talked about topics today with CIOs and CISOs and CEOs. Just like GDPR, China has its own set of cybersecurity laws. And if you don't obey the cybersecurity laws, you're going to also have consequences, just like if you didn't obey GDPR. So by working with us, we can really help you. We can really help you navigate the cybersecurity law and how to best comply with cybersecurity law. And frankly speaking, one of the biggest elements of cybersecurity law is can be overcome by having infrastructure in China and and by ensuring that the PII that's obtained from Chinese citizens stay in China. And that's certainly one of the places that we can help with being the largest cloud provider inside China. In addition, we also can help you navigate, in addition to cybersecurity law, we can help you navigate different parts of compliance in China. There are topics such as an ICP license. In order to have a website in China, you have to have an ICP license. So these are some of the things that we can help with and make sure that you understand the rules and regulations in China. There are also content censorship in China that we can help navigate as well. We have different big data and artificial intelligence solutions that can help ensure that user-generated content remain appropriate for the Chinese law. And lastly, broad ecosystem for automotive-specific solutions tailored to the Chinese market. I actually think this goes beyond automotive. I think in China, Alibaba Cloud and Alibaba Group really have the largest ecosystem that can help you conduct business, that can help you enter the China market, that can help you market to the Chinese people. And again, this goes back to my original opening. China is now the biggest opportunity for anybody that sells to consumers. And by leveraging us, the ecosystem, by partnering with us, by letting us help you with remaining compliant, you can really market your solution or your services to the China market more effectively, more effortlessly, and more efficiently. So a lot of people ask me, and this is frankly one of the first questions I get asked, do you have your data center presence in North America or in Europe? The answer is yes. We have 18 regions globally, 14 of which are in Asia Pacific, some in China, some in the APAC region outside of China. We also have 2 regions in the United States. We have 2 regions in the Europe and Middle East region. So we have 18 regions total globally, and that's, I think AWS is 18 as well. 44 availability zones, so that means at least 2 availability zones per region. This is also going to grow very rapidly. I think we added like 3 regions over the last 6 months. All right, this is certainly a topic that I talked about earlier. With Alibaba Cloud, you don't need to have multiple logins. You can manage all your regions, all the resources in all your regions with one account. Whether you're a China domestic customer trying to manage your infrastructure worldwide, or you're a non-China customer trying to manage your infrastructure in the world and also in China, you can leverage one account that provides you access to all the resources in all the regions that we have. The billing is the same across all regions. The user experience is all the same across all regions. The performance is very similar across all regions. And again, I think, one account. This is certainly a unique differentiator. Before I keep going, any questions? Some people want to ask questions right here. Come on now.
I can see the information from Microsoft that they mentioned they cover the 15 regions and 140 countries.
Okay.
It's a similar concept as you just introduced. 50 versus.
I see. Okay, that's a great question. That's a great question. So the lady here asked the question, Microsoft has 50 regions and 140 countries. Do we define our regions and availability zones in a similar manner? The answer is no. Our definition is more comparable to AWS. Okay, our region means a geographic region. Our availability zone means data center. Okay, so we have 18 regions. That means 18 big geographic regions that we have presence in. And then we have multiple availability zones in each region. That means we have multiple data centers in that region. And so we define our regions and AZs a little bit differently from Microsoft. We do the same with AWS. Any additional questions? Okay, I'll keep going. So best in class network connectivity in China. I think this is one of the things that a lot of people come to us for. Earlier I talked about a connectivity solution that allows you to get data in and out of China with very low latency, with virtually zero data loss, and it's a very consistent and fast experience. So how fast, you might ask? So from what we've seen, and this is, we've done a test and multiple third parties have done the test as well. You can make a round trip from California to Shanghai in about 130 milliseconds. You can make a round trip from New York to Shanghai, about 200 milliseconds. So, you know, this is a stark contrast from, say you have a website today, either in China, or it's in the US, or it's in Europe. And then say you have a website in the US and you want the China people to access it. Sometimes it takes minutes. There's a large retailer based in Canada whose website, when you want to pull it in China, it's a minute and a half. I know because I did that test myself and I sent the video to that company. Right? So our cross-border connectivity solution ensures, and when I say ensure, it's got an SLA, and it's a very consistent experience, ensures that you have a very manageable, very predictable response time when you're in China trying to access something outside of China or vice versa. So this cross-border connectivity solution really allows us to put together a very unique global architecture, because now it's no longer everywhere else in the world and China. Now it's one architecture. And this is going to be music to the ears for the global infrastructure lead. We talked about us being a great multi-cloud vendor, and I think when you talk about multi-cloud, obviously being another cloud provider is one criteria, but really, when you pick a multi-cloud vendor, I think here's some of the things that you have to think about. First of all, in addition to being just another cloud provider, what do you bring to the table? I think for us, Alibaba Cloud brings additional geographic coverage to the table that you probably don't have today. Alibaba Cloud provides a very similar product portfolio to the leading cloud provider globally. So, if you're a customer of that global cloud provider, it's very easy to set up Alibaba Cloud as a multi-cloud player, as a multi-cloud provider. Also, we don't like to get to this point, but we're usually a little bit more flexible in price. And when you're talking about multi-cloud, I think pricing a lot of times is a consideration as well. So on multiple fronts, we are an excellent multi-cloud option, especially if you're an existing customer of the global leader. I'll just say it's AWS since we wrote it here. So this I touched on a little bit earlier. I think, China has had a stigma. Doing business in China is not considered easy by most standards. And I would kind of have to agree with that. But one of the factors is that you need to find a partner that can help you navigate the business landscape in China. And this is exactly what Alibaba Cloud does. I think Alibaba Cloud and Alibaba Group really share sort of the same mission. We're trying to be the gateway to China. We're trying to make China simple. And what Alibaba Group does for vendors selling into the Chinese market, Alibaba Cloud provides infrastructure to China and Asia Pacific. We are your go-to partner for doing business in the China or Asia Pacific region. So, like I talked about earlier, we can help you handle cross-border connectivity, something very unique to us. We can help you with various licenses and complying with the China rules and regulations. We really just help make China simple. I think that's one of the things. If there was a takeaway, from today's session is, doing business in China doesn't need to be hard. We can help. So, I want to go a little bit into complying with the rules and regulations in China. First of all, very similar to GDPR, China's cybersecurity law was introduced last June of 2017. And dictated by the cybersecurity law, it outlines several areas that the Chinese government would like people to comply with. And a lot of that, because of cybersecurity, a lot of that deals with your web presence. So one of the things that impact multinational companies, global, big multinational companies, is that they can no longer ship PII, personal identifiable information, obtained from Chinese citizens out of the country. So how do you solve that problem? I think one of the first steps to solving the problem is to establish your infrastructure presence so that you can store some of that data in China. Now, I think you have to have a data strategy. I think you have to figure out how to classify sensitive data from non-sensitive data, because I'm sure you still need a lot of that data to do your big data analysis globally, right? So you need to do your data analysis. You need to conduct some risk analysis. But one of the first steps is to have local infrastructure that allow you to store those sensitive data. And that's exactly where we come in. We are the biggest cloud provider in China. And by setting up infrastructure inside China, you also gain a partner that can help you navigate the China landscape. So we have several compliance consulting offerings that are listed here. We have security product and compliance. We have a public policy expert team. And then we have a team that can help you navigate all the compliance needs in China. So again, I think we're an excellent partner to help you navigate the China regulation and compliance. I'm going to skip this slide. I think a few of the following slides really focus on the importance of complying with the rules and regulations in China. And I'm not going to go into tons of details, but there have been large multinational companies that have been disciplined for violating the cybersecurity law. And so I think this is certainly on top of everybody's mind, and this is something that we can help navigate. Oh, I just talked about this 5 seconds ago. Any questions so far? Questions in the back? The lady in the back, any questions?
So the question I have is for the regions in India. We know we have a roadmap for that?
We have a...
For data center in India.
So the gentleman's question is whether we have a plan to have data center in India. We have a region in India today.
One of the regions.
Yes, India is currently one of the regions, and we have a team there as well. And we're starting to, in addition to cloud, we're also starting to build an ecosystem in India. So India is certainly one of our focus markets. Any additional questions?
Can you share some references you already done for the Go China? How long that is for the typical, for example, typical retail company they want to open the business in China? How long is for the whole process and set up everything to get the achievement?
That's a great question, complex question. So the question from the lady is, can I elaborate the process and the length and the level of effort for a global retailer to enter the China market? Very deep question. So, first of all, I think I want to stop talking just about cloud for a second. Alibaba is a fantastic partner for a global retailer to go to market in China with. What do I mean by that? In China, things are done differently. There are a ton of people. The people are being marketed to in a very different way from people in the rest of the world. People consume information in a different way. People pay a different way. The website design from Chinese websites are very, very different from the design in the rest of the world. So I think going to China, first of all, you have to figure out, okay, how do I market to this audience? Second of all, as a retailer, you have to set up your back-end operation. So it's one thing to list your product on an e-commerce website. It's another thing to say that once people want to buy a product and put it in the shopping cart, how do they pay? Who ships to them? Who fulfills? Right? What about the product inventory? Where are the products coming from? So these are all things you need to figure out. Now, we happen to have a very big platform called Tmall that helps global retailers, that helps global brands market, sell, fulfill, take payment to in the China market. So in essence, we provide an easy button if you want to enter the China market and sell to the Chinese audience. Now, I think that's where a lot of the companies start. It's extremely easy because you don't need to worry about how business gets done. All you need to do is just, dictate, how the portal looks. You have to make sure that you have the right inventory and the right type of products, and then you let our experts do the rest. It's very easy. Now, not everybody's needs can be fulfilled by Tmall. A lot of the really, really big brands really want to have a control of the look and feel of their web presence. A lot of the very big brands want to venture outside of Tmall. In addition to Tmall, they want to have their web presence. Maybe it's not necessarily to sell things. Maybe it's an educational website. Maybe you're an outdoor gears company, and the website is to teach you how to use the gears. So a lot of the big brands want to have their own presence for a different reason. This is where Alibaba Cloud comes in. We can still help you leverage the ecosystem, the payment, the logistics, the e-commerce, but we provide the infrastructure. We provide the ability to spin up a website in a very short amount of time. We provide big data analysis capabilities. We provide mobile push capabilities so you can communicate with your customers millions, hundreds of millions of cell phones in real time. And frankly, that's how Chinese citizens consume information. So by leveraging our infrastructure, by leveraging our content delivery, by leveraging our vast network, you have the Chinese audience in the palm of your hands. And that's all in addition to the e-commerce presence that we can bring to bear. Does that answer your question? Any additional questions? Come on now. Okay. Virtual Stream has a question? Alrighty. Let's see. Oh. So, this is kind of interesting. AI for media. So, what have we done in artificial intelligence for media? So, not everybody knows, but we run one of the largest e-commerce media presence in China. We have YouTube here in the rest of the world, and there's Youku in China. And when we deal with user-generated content, we use our artificial intelligence technology to crawl through all the footages. And then we use our artificial intelligence technology to identify and tag and categorize different actions in the video. So we've been able to leverage our AI technology to make sure that the content remains appropriate for the China market. We've also been able to leverage the same technology to identify very specific acts in a video. So for example, if you have a basketball game footage, we can identify all the jump shots and index them. So what does that do? It helps you cut through a frame. It helps you monetize that content that you already have. So I would say AI for media is certainly one of the things that we're making available, we're commercializing, because we've had to do it for ourselves. Text recognition. Text recognition, video recognition, image recognition, those are all key elements of our artificial intelligence capabilities. So one of the things, there's also speech-to-text capabilities. So for example, we're working with a global sports organization to provide real-time translation, speech-to-text. We're also providing the ability to help with identity theft by providing facial recognition capabilities. So facial recognition is a capability that we have used extensively for our own business. For example, Alipay. Alipay is the biggest digital wallet in the world. And Alipay uses facial recognition to authenticate you as a user. So it doesn't get more important than guarding your wallet. And we're trusting our facial recognition capabilities to do so. And that shows the level of confidence we have in our solution. I talked about the cross-border earlier. I'm going to skip these. Okay. So I think that wraps up this presentation. Basically, oh, there's a question here.
So Great presentation so far. So if I have a company and I want to work with Alibaba, let's say to go China, what kind of resources does Alibaba offer to make it easy for me to work with Alibaba?
That's a great question. So the question again is, if you have a company, you want to go China, you want to get into the China market, you want to seize the China opportunity, what can we provide? I think we're a cloud company, so I think the infrastructure is certainly something we can provide. But in addition, we can provide an entire ecosystem for you to do business a little bit easier in China. So we talked about obviously navigating the business landscape, knowing how people like to be marketed, dealing with the infrastructure limitations. When you deal with a mobile, primarily mobile, information consumption, right? When you talk about integrating payment capabilities, when you talk about integrating logistics capabilities, when you talk about leveraging the large arm of Alibaba marketing called Alimama, right? When you talk about all these different capabilities, it really puts together an entire suite for you to package around your offering to take to the Chinese audience. So I think I certainly welcome you to give me a call and we can discuss how we can help you go China. But it's more than just cloud, and that's our tagline. Thank you.